to retain freshmen and transfer students here at OSU who are the first in their family to go to college. And along with that, something that's been highlighted through all the emails, which is pretty neat, is that I am Miss Oklahoma Latina 2014, and I'm so happy to be here to speak with you all. Does everybody hear me all right? I'm going to assume that if nobody's typing, I'm going to turn my volume down in case somebody comes into the room. I tend to get a little distracted with sound, so I'm going to turn it down. If y'all need anything, just go ahead and type. And we're going to do about 40 minutes of presentation, and we'll save the last 15 minutes or so for any questions you all might have. So hope you get something out of this presentation. So a little bit of background on me. Besides the fact that I work here at OSU, I have conference experience, which I hope you all know. I'm coming in talking to you about things that I have experienced in my own lifetime here at OSU and in a lot of national conferences and summits that I've attended. So I've assisted in executing and putting on 8 national conferences and summits throughout the U.S. And I've actually attended about, I would say, a good 25 national conferences. And the reason I've been given this opportunity is because I think when you really want something and you really seek the funding to do it and the resources, you're able to get it. So thankfully, all of these conferences have been for free, because I was able to ask for help within my university, my workplace, or through the actual organizations that I put on conferences for. So I've served as a corporate partners committee member, meals and receptions, and town halls. So what that means is that these conferences that you all are going to attend, here next month and then in the future, especially the LSMCE conference, they're hosted by people who really care about what it is that you're there for. So in this case, it's going to be STEM. But there's also corporate partners in a lot of the conferences that you'll attend. So for example, if you see, a big brand, say a famous coffee brand or a famous restaurant chain or oil and natural gas company, those people a lot of times donate money to conferences so that you can attend. And so that things can be paid for and that their brand is represented. So that's going to come in later in the conference as we talk about making an impression. Any loud on our end? Okay, so I've also served on the National Council of La Raza, and that is the largest Hispanic and civil rights advocacy organization in the nation for people of Latino descent. And I represented the United States Midwest region, so about 11 to 13 states I was able to represent Latino youth, and that involved a lot of conferences too. So as you see, there's a lot of conference experience, and I hope that you'll join me on this ride on giving tips and advice on how to prepare for your next conference experience. So, an overview. We're going to talk about the purpose of the conference. It'd be good for you to think about what your goal is. Why is it that you're going to attend LSMCE or any other conference that you'll attend in the future, and have the end goal in mind? Because it's going to help you whenever you're actually at the conference to know what it is that you're there for. And that way you'll be able to meet the right people to connect to your goals. And those are things to think about before you even arrive to conference. Check out the website. Get to know the website really well. Who is it that's going to be there? Who are you interested in meeting? And kind of put a target on that person and say, I really, really want to get to know them. You can even email them beforehand if their contact info is there. If their contact information is not on the website, you look it up on Google or you look it up on whatever institution they're a part of, and shoot them an email before conference and say, hey, I heard that you're going to be, say, at the LSMCE conference. I would really like to connect with you. Do you think you'd have time during conference? So set yourself up pre-conference. Don't wait until the actual moment that you arrive to realize, wow, I have a really good opportunity here with so-and-so company or this professor or scholar who might be there. Look these things up beforehand. So another thing is conference preparation. You got to know what to prepare for, who to prepare for, who it is that you're going to meet, and what to bring with you. And finally, we will end with tips and advice on networking and leaving a lasting impression. Okay, so like I said, preparation for these conferences, a lot of times it begins at home. So you must have a resume. You got to take your resume with you. And when you do these things, I always tell my students, when you have a resume, I really hope that your set of eyes are not the only eyes that are going to see your resume. If you have a career services center or an area at your university or college that can look for you, show it to your mentors, show it to them, staff members who are willing to give you a few minutes to look over your resume and give you some honest feedback on it. Resumes should be tailored to the company that you are seeking out. That's why it's important that before you attend this conference, if you are looking at research from a certain professor from a certain university, or if there's a company that's going to be, say, at a career expo, and you really want to get to know them, you got to tailor your resume to that company, to that professor, to their research, and of course making sure that all your information is factual. But every resume that you ever turn in to any company, any business, any scholar should look different, and it should be tailored to who you're targeting. And it should be edited, like I say. Give it to somebody to look at. A lot of things in our eyes look perfect, but when somebody else looks at it, it's like, okay, well, here's some tips and here's some feedback to look at. So with your resume, make sure that you email it to yourself, or that you plug it into a flash drive and that you're able to open it during conference. And you might even take some resume paper with you if that's convenient for you too, because a lot of times these hotels have places to print off resumes at. So say you're there day one and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, this internship opportunity, they're here, my resume's okay, but I forgot to list something on there that might relate to this internship, darn it. So what you can do is actually edit your resume while you're at the conference, and then you're able to print that off while you're there and give them a fresh resume that's more tailored to what they're looking for instead of a general resume. Make sure that you take a portfolio or a padfolio. You can just Google one of those if you're not sure what a padfolio is and see the images that pop up. But it's a professional looking portfolio where you can put your resumes, your business cards, and your pens, and any other paperwork you might be taking with you. So those are very important. A lot of times you can purchase those at your university bookstore, at your career services center. And business cards. So a lot of my students, I work with freshmen, and they say, what on earth do I need business cards for? I'm too young. I said, well, it's actually really important that you have those, not only to market yourself, but because it makes you look more professional. It says, wow, this person is looking for an opportunity with me. This person wants to do research with me or join my effort, and they already have business cards. So it's making a good impression from the beginning, being crisp and having all these items with you to begin with. So looking the part. So ladies, we can look up on any website what it is that we should dress like, but the thing is you got to tailor it to your conference. So the starting line is always dressing professionally. If you're going to a fashion conference, of course you're going to look different. But if you're going to a STEM conference, I believe that in most parts it would be, or in most cases it would be more serious. So make sure that you're highlighting who you are as a person, and that you're not the person they're remembering because your shirt was too low or because your skirt was too high. You know, regardless of those things, people should remember you for who you are, the personality that you have, and what qualities that you have to offer whenever you meet them. So please keep it professional. Know that the clothing is important. Wearing slacks, wearing a skirt that's past your knees, you can make that look cute, ladies. So we can always work things and make them look nice. But like I said, highlight you, highlight what you have to offer, and don't let people remember you for anything that could be negative in the future. So shoes. Let me talk a little bit more about clothing. And this is for ladies and gentlemen. A lot of times you can actually go to a thrift store. My mom went to the thrift store the other day and got me a really cute orange jacket. And this matches with a lot of the things I have to wear at OSU because our school color is orange. So get yourself the basic parts and then work on getting the shell that goes under your black jacket. You can't go wrong with a nice black top and some black pants, or a blue top and some blue pants. And then under that jacket, you can put just a regular shell. And a shell is just a shirt that, you know, covers you well, and that you can switch colors with it. So don't be afraid to have what you would call the basic clothing. Those are some of the most important accessories you can have. And don't worry if you don't have 10 different outfits to choose from. As long as you have a good 2 or 3, that's okay. You know, switch the sweater up with the jacket. But as long as you look professional and crisp, you can never go wrong with a basic suit. Shoes, for the most part, make sure that you're wearing some closed-toed shoes. Flats are a great idea. A lot of times you can wear peep-toe shoes. Kind of ask your advisors or the adults that you're going with if you should wear the peep-toe shoes. But definitely not flip-flops, not some cute sandals. Those are the types of things that we want to stay away from. It is a good idea to carry some sandals or some flip-flops in your bag for after the conference and when the night is over and say you're walking to your hotel room and your feet are sore and you are wearing high heels. If you choose to wear high heels, it's a great idea to take some of those shoes because your feet will hurt at the end of the day at a conference. Keep the jewelry nice. Make sure, I really like my hoop earrings, but for a professional conference, I tend to just wear the studs and keep it professional. Makeup, same thing. You want people to remember you for the natural beauty that you exude, of course, through what you're going to show them on your resume and the qualities that you have to offer. Gentlemen, clothing, it's really, of course, your most basic is your suit and your tie. You don't have to have a million suits and ties. You don't even have to have 3. If you can have 1 and slowly start adding on to your wardrobe, that's okay. There's no pressure here to have a ton of suits. Have 1 or 2 suits that you can go to, and there again, thrift stores are always a good idea. You'd be surprised at what you can find at a thrift store, and don't be embarrassed to go there because a lot of people get good finds there. Shoes, make sure that you're wearing some nice shoes, that your socks are matching your suit. No white socks under your shoes. Make sure that you're not exposing skin like those short socks that we wear when we go to the gym. Make sure you're not wearing those. You got to wear some long socks that do match the color of your suit or even your shoes. And they can be fun. A lot of times they will have prints, but make sure they're kind of darker prints depending on where you're going. Cologne and perfume. There are some people who are sensitive to smells and different scents, so make sure that when you do wear cologne, you remember that you're going to be in very enclosed spaces with people and you're going to be in elevators, so kind of tone it down a little bit. Same thing with perfumes, and you never know. There's a little joke that we have around here to make sure you don't wear so much cologne and perfume is that you never know when somebody's ex wore your perfume or wore your cologne, so you don't want to give off that impression either, so keep it neutral. The purpose of a conference is to highlight and showcase your skills and abilities, not your wardrobe necessarily, but that doesn't mean you can't have some fun with it. Okay, so at a conference, there's the on switch and there's the off switch. Very rarely are you going to be on the off switch unless you are in your room with your door locked and you're not being incredibly loud. So at a conference, you're expected to be on from the time you walk into your hotel, from the time you step out of the car, out of the airplane, and you're getting ready to head over to the conference site. Hotels are especially important. The hotel that you stay at is probably where a lot of the conference presenters will be, a lot of scholars, a lot of professors, deans, faculty members, other conference participants, panelists, workshop presenters, keynote speakers. It tends to be that wherever you stay, wherever the conference hotel is, you're going to see a lot of people that you're going to see anyway at your conference. So you're on when you arrive there. So that means, if you might say cuss words sometimes, or if you pull kind of interesting jokes, be careful because there are people around you who arrive in khakis and a polo, but you don't realize they're actually the CEO of a company that is funding the conference or could provide you an internship. So please be aware that you never know who you're around during conference time. And so you turn back on once you step outside of your room. Once you had your good night's sleep and you wake up, you're on again. I have been at conferences where you have people running up and down the halls, being loud. They have their music all the way turned up. And so, you have a lot of adults there. You have people who you're going to see during conference. So be wary of behaving that way. And I'm sure all of y'all are very professional, but, keep that in mind for the people around you. And they say that you're the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So make sure at conferences people are bringing your average up and that you are presenting yourself in a way that would be admirable, and the people around you too, because they will associate you with them. So the elevator is also important. You never know who's in your elevator also. When you hit that button and you walk in and there's 5 people, 10 people, 1 person maybe, you never know who could be there. I have run into the Secretary of the Interior of the United States in an elevator ambassadors to the United States in the elevator without realizing it until I said hello and they told me who they were. So please know that you could run into anybody. And when you run into anybody, and this is for the whole conference, we're hoping that you will be ready for anything. With that said, I don't know if you all have an elevator pitch yet or have thought about an elevator pitch, but I guess I'll define that. So an elevator pitch is what you would say. It's like your phrase, your few sentences that you would say to somebody if you were caught in an elevator with them, and that was the person who has the key for you to get your dream job. Essentially, that's what your elevator pitch is. What do you need to say to them in less than 20 seconds before they hop off the elevator and you never have that opportunity again? So think of the place that you want to work for in the future, an ideal company that you're looking at. Maybe a politician that you really like or somebody that you admire, a role model. If you had only 20 to 30 seconds with that person before they left, possibly forever, what would you say to them? So what we would hope that you say to them is a little bit about yourself, just enough about yourself, what you do, and highlight something important about you so that you catch their attention. And that's your elevator pitch, because those elevator rides are really short. You might see someone important there that you want to get to know, and they can be awkward. So make sure you make the best of it. They're human beings. Shake their hands, say hello, how is the conference treating you, and then bam, go in for your elevator pitch, tell them about you. Offer them your business card, because a lot of times when you have a business card, they will give you their business card back. So it's kind of a switch in the business world and in the conference world. If you give someone your business card, they tend to give you one back. And if not, just say, I was wondering, maybe I could have your business card. I would really love to seek some advice from you. And you could get it. You only have 20 to 30 seconds. You might as well try. So with them, what's in it for me? A lot of times what companies are thinking when they're out to find students to work for them or to intern with them is what's in it for me. And we have to look at it that way, because they have a lot of applicants. They have people who want to join their company, their organization, their research project, but and you have to present yourself in a way that you're offering them something, that you highlight what it is that makes you special and what it is that makes you stand out. Make sure you give clear examples. I hear so often from my students, well, I'm a hard worker. Well, I'm dedicated. I tell them, well, anybody could just say that. But what is it that you have done specifically that proves that? And give an example. Give real-life examples anytime you're going to describe yourself a certain way. Make sure that you can back it up with real-life experiences. And that goes for interviews, that goes for conferences, in any situation that you're offering your services to somebody. Acronyms. Say you're part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Make sure you say Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, because a lot of times students will say, oh, I'm a member of SHIP, and this is what we do. And then, people might not know what they're talking about. So we speak in acronyms around here because that's our lingo. That's our language that we use, but not everybody speaks that way. So the last thing you want to do is make somebody feel not so intelligent or like they don't know what's going on. So make sure that that you always say those acronyms out for what they are. Okay. So opportunities arise. So you're walking into the conference, there's people everywhere, and who are you going to meet? In this particular conference, it appears to be that you would meet experts in your field and what it is that you're interested in, scientists, workshop panelists. You're going to attend workshops, career fair representatives. I'm not sure if there's an expo or some sort of informational, but if you do, you're going to see a lot of people from different companies across the nation, perhaps, or across the state, corporate representatives, professors, directors, deans, people who are where you may want to be in the future, people who can give you an internship or a job, and the people who can connect you to master's or doctoral programs. So keeping aware that this is jackpot. This is a place where you really can take advantage of the fact that it's a convening of people from across many states, from across the nation perhaps. And this is your time to shine and to network. So I will say this later, but I'll say it again. This is not the place to just hang out with your friends and to spend the most time with the people that you came there with. Because the people you came there with, they're going to be back there when you go home. But the people you may not have access to, direct personal access to, are the people that you are about to about to meet, that we hope that you meet. So keeping that in mind. Okay, so before we continue, and this is where you all can type in, I'm going to give you a scenario. So I want you to think of an organization or research project or a team that you represent with pride. That could be, your SHIP chapter. That could be your NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, ZACNAS, all the different organizations that you're a part of. Think of something that you take a lot of pride in that you work on a team with. So you must hire a new board members to represent your team to the public, to produce results, and to make decisions on your behalf. So they're your representative. They are going to go across the nation and they're going to represent your brand. This is a brand that you've dedicated your time, your energy, and your career to. And you're going to attend a career fair next week, and you have to decide which of all the hundreds of applicants that you meet you will select to join your team that you have invested so much time and work into. What skills and automatic attributes must candidates display in order to be selected to join your team? Who would you allow on your team? So, if you all could help me go to your keyboards and let me know, what are you looking for? Say you're at a conference, you're representing this awesome organization. What do you want to see? Motivation, good. Passionate. Positive attitude. Okay. Nice. Okay, good. These are all great, and these are all very true. And we all tend to know this, right? So it's basic information. Everybody wants somebody, with a great attitude and respectful. But you kind of got to write these things out sometimes, because here's what happens. People want to see this in you, just like you would want to see it in them. So definitely somebody that's motivated, someone that has energy, someone that's looking at you, that's showing you, I really, really care about this. Look at all that I've done in order to show you that I want this opportunity with your company or, for your internship. Someone that's passionate. You really got to care about what you want to do and what you do. Make sure that you love what you're doing. I know sometimes it's hard and it can be a challenge, but in the end, is it something that makes you feel passionate about it at the end of the day? Because people can read right through that. And the people who are the most passionate about the jobs or opportunities they're seeking tend to be the ones that stand out the most. So make sure you're standing out naturally and for something that you truly like, because then you're going to be able to hold a conversation about it too. Positive attitude, always important. So a lot of times, you're talking to people and we want to get into these little negative conversations about like, oh man, yeah, the weather is pretty bad, or like, yeah, it's really hot in that room, or it's freezing in here. That's okay. I mean, a little bit of like, oh, it's freezing in here, but you got to put a positive twist on it. You got to, there's I don't know if it's a Mother Teresa quote, but it's a quote out there that says, people may not remember what you said to them, but they'll remember how you made them feel. So make sure that how you make these people feel at these expos, at the panels, at the workshops, is this person is positive, they're passionate, they're motivated, and they made me feel good when I was there. They gave me a good feeling about themselves. Team player, absolutely. Team player, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later. I might actually repeat some slides here in a second, but it's so important to be a team player. And here's one way that you can display it. So say you are at that table and you're, meeting several people. You just got finished with a workshop and they had several presenters, and you're the only one asking questions. Talk to everybody, acknowledge everybody, make eye contact with everybody that you're standing in a circle with. I know a lot of times we just want to talk to one person, but make the time and the effort to shake hands with everybody around you and present yourself. And then shift your body, move around, Show interest in everybody in the room, because it's not just about you and that person. That person is watching your behavior, kind of like you would too if you were giving someone an opportunity. They're asking themselves, well, they didn't include my assistant here. They didn't include the people around me or other professors. So is this what they're like in the workplace? So yeah, being a team player, and that goes along with being respectful, professional, great handshakes, being confident and well-mannered. And I like the one, very informative. And I know that I might not be able to hear Imani, who wrote that, but very informative, at least the way I interpret it, is a student who comes in knowing their stuff, knowing about the company, knowing about, the research project, or, what it is that's going on with the people they're interacting with. And I'll touch on that here in just a second. So let's move on from scenario. So thank you for answering those questions, everyone. Oh, we did that. Okay, so it's go time. So say you are in that expo center, you're at that workshop, it's finished. You really want to talk to one of the panelists, one of the presenters. Okay, so make that concerted effort to sit at the front of the room, to raise your hand, to smile. It's the most awkward thing talking to nobody right now. So I'm talking to my computer screen. But when a presenter is talking in a room, you feed off of that energy. So when, what you end up seeing a lot at these panels is people who are on their cell phones, who have their head down, who might be a little disinterested, or if they're interested, they're not showing it. So you be that rare person at a workshop, because I've hosted many workshops, be that person who looks up and smiles and shakes, they nod their head. So there's a research study done, and I don't remember who conducted it, but basically it said that people will be more attracted to you, and not in a relationship way, but they will be more attracted to people who nod during a conversation at least 3 times. So that kind of nod of acknowledgement, do that. That makes you stand out from other people who aren't speaking or are not looking at the presenter. And in the end, they will remember who it is that made them feel like, wow, that person was really interested in what I have to say. I have some pretty important things to say. So go afterward, talk to them, and then, ask them for their business card. Give them yours, and make those connections. It's a lot of times people want to keep it strictly professional and say, okay, here's what I have to do. Shake the hand, give the resume, call it good. No, there's so much more that goes on in between. It's a lot of relationship development that you must conduct while you're at these conferences to make the most impact and to build the most relationships. And the interesting thing is, you all are the stars there, the youth are. So all these companies, all these organizations, all these people that show up to conferences, the adults, they want to talk to youth. And they talk amongst themselves. They talk to each other and say, I really like that. Who am I looking at? Imani's the name that keeps popping up here. I really liked Imani. Imani had a great attitude, and she, showed that she really cares to be here. So make sure you're that person they're talking about positively. Be happy to be there. That handshake is so important. If you feel like you don't have your handshake down, then you might want to practice with some people. The general rule of web to web. We all have that little web in between our index finger and our thumb, and making sure that you meet that with the other person, not overpowering them, because there's a lot to be said that people can interpret if you overpower them in a handshake, and not doing it too lightly. And especially when you have a female, a lot of men want to kind of just lightly touch the female's hand. Okay, very nice to meet you. No, we are equal, and we have very many powerful women out there who want their good handshake, and who are also watching for that. So the handshake is very important, and it tends to show, who has had professional development training and who hasn't. People tend to like to recognize when you have. So count this as one of your professional development trainings, I hope. And eye contact is important. However, if you happen to run into a researcher or a scientist or somebody who looks down, and maybe they're from a different culture, it could be a cultural norm for them. So just, don't make them feel uncomfortable, and just know that for certain countries, it is appropriate for them to look down, and it's a sign of respect. But if you don't have that norm, then make sure you're always making that good eye contact. And again, your friends are going to be there when you get home. Take advantage of this situation. Meet as many people as you can. Okay. So, making an impression. Something that's super important before you attend your conference is to see who's going to be at your conference, because you never know if it's going to be somebody that could give you a really great opportunity. that you could develop a relationship with across the country and say, maybe one day I want to go to, I don't know, MIT. Maybe one day I want to go to study in Indiana, and meet the professors that are going to be there. Meet the people who are conducting the workshops and the programs, because they could connect you to some really cool things. So read, research. Everybody, you're able to get onto Google and find out who's going to be there. And once you find out who's going to be there, if something strikes your interest, go find out more about them. If you see a company that you like, find out their history, find out their mission statement, their core values, who's on their executive board, what are some good facts. If there's controversy going on with that company, leave that out. We don't have to say like, oh, I heard y'all had an oil spill, or something that would not make them feel comfortable. Say the positive things. Because I also work a lot of career fairs, and I work a lot of recruitment sessions where we do table, or our student assistants stand at the table. And it is just not very common for someone to walk up to you who actually knows who you are and who actually knows what your company, what your research, what your organization is all about. It's very rare. So if you're the one who comes up and says, hey, I heard that you all do this, this, and this. Well, your core values match up with my core values, and that's exactly why I want to work for a company such as da, da, da. So those are the most impressive things, and I bet you anything that you are one of the very few people researching these types of things ahead of time. So that will make a definite lasting impression. And know why you want to work with them. What qualities and attributes do you bring, with examples? So we all know we're hard workers. We all know that we have that we're exciting and that we are great team players. But why is that? And how do you contribute to them? Because there again, you're looking for an opportunity with them. There was I met a recruiter the other day from a major university over here in the Big 12, and I guess one student went up to that recruiter and asked them, well, the recruiter said, so, hi, what do you bring to the table? How are you? What's your name? And the person stopped them and said, well, what can you offer me? Because I'm the one trying to go to your school. And so you can tell how that went. And the recruiter quickly responded by saying, no, you're looking for a service with us. And so keeping that in mind, making friends with the people at the table and letting them know you're interested is very important. If you forgot to look people up before the conference, or if you happen to run into somebody you didn't know was going to be there, I like to tell people, take a quick little bathroom break, go in there, Google that person, that company, find out some good facts about them, and then go back and talk to them about that. Bring that up in conversation. Hey, I heard that you all are actually, or what's impressive, I read about you on your website, and I learned that you all do some really great things in the community. Community outreach is super important to me, and so is whatever they're working on. So make sure you do that. Spit your gum out while you're in the bathroom. Something else that's important, if you go to the bathroom with your friends, I know, why am I talking about the bathroom? But the bathroom is just like the elevator. It's just like the lobby, the hotel lobby. It's just like any other public place. Everybody has to use the restroom. CEOs have to use the restroom. Your keynote speakers have to use the restroom. Famous people have to use the restroom. So if you're walking in there with a friend and you say, oh my God, that keynote speaker was so boring, or like, oh, this conference stinks or something, you never know who's in the stall next to you or who's hearing your conversation. So like I said, that on switch is truly on all the time. So stop talking about the bathroom. I hope you all took that in. So preparing for small talk. Making sure that it's appropriate, not controversial, and that you express interest. We want people to know that we're human too. So make sure that you are able to talk about just being a person. Like, oh, hey, this conference is going great. I really like this. I really like this session. And, it's not just robotic. It's very personable. And people want to work with people that are personable, that are, on top of your great GPA, on top of your involvement. They want to know that they can actually work with you. And having a cooperative attitude is very important for that too. So the exchange. Business cards, super important that you take those. Like I said, card for card. You take one card, you take a person's card, usually you need to give one back. And if you give someone a card, that's usually their cue to give you one of their cards. So you're going to get a lot of business cards. If you get a lot of business cards, that means you're doing a lot of networking, and that's great. So when you get those business cards, write that person's information on the back of the card, because I don't know how often I've actually remembered a person after I got their card. I look at the card and I say, who on earth is this? I don't remember. So write some notes, but make sure those notes are not like, oh, it was that bald guy, or it's, oh, this was a gentleman from so-and-so, because, you could lose that card. You could be holding up the card and someone sees the back of the card. That happens a lot. So write appropriate things behind the card to remember who it is you talked to. Write a thank you email within 24 hours. Here's a cool thing about conferences. They're usually not a day long. They're usually 2 to 3 to 4 days long. So if you meet somebody on day 1 or day 2, towards the beginning, you're able to email them. And people are usually on their phones, especially, corporate America, recruiters, professors. They need to be checking their emails. So if you can send them that email within 24 hours, it's really great to say, hey, it was really great. Hi. Hello, Dr. So-and-so, or hello, so-and-so. It was really great to meet you today. I am the student who, and describe yourself. Because just like you're meeting a lot of people, they're probably meeting even more people if they're standing at a table, or if they're a panelist or a workshop presenter or a keynote speaker. So make that effort to write a sentence about who you are and then talk about what you do. And always end it with, hey, I was just wondering if I could contact you in the future if I need some advice, because I really enjoyed your story. I really like what it is that you do. Can we keep communicating? So doing that. You can interact during the conference. If your conversation went so well with somebody, just say, hey, what are you doing during the dinner, the official conference dinner tonight? Never dinner privately, never, what I'll say and what I tell at every conference presentation workshop is that there are bars a lot of times at hotels, and there are adults at those bars, and you're going to see presenters possibly there. It is not a student's place to ever have that type of conversation after hours or outside of an official event, because you do see that a lot sometimes, and it just you got to keep it professional. So just a little disclaimer on the side that when you go to conferences, you tend to see some things that you didn't know could happen, but they do. So keep yourself safe. And with these presenters or people you want to connect to, say, hey, what are you doing during the conference luncheon? And maybe you could have a seat with them and talk more about opportunities, but always within an appropriate setting, and letting your advisor know that you're going to go speak with such and such company or this professor or professional that you want to get to know. And sending a post-conference thank you card. So a lot of these people that you meet are from generations that are a little bit older than you all. And what they a lot of times are accustomed to is a good thank you card. So actually buying a paper thank you card, getting one from your career services center at your university, and writing to that person. You can find their address on their website. But it's something that really makes people stand out when they're applying for positions or for opportunities, is that good thank you card that brings back that nostalgia, sort of like, oh, nobody writes thank yous anymore, but this kid does. So be that person that writes the thank you card, and do it as soon as you can after you get home from conference. Don't take things to heart, if somebody doesn't have time to talk to you, or if they're being a little standoffish. Sometimes that can happen at conferences, and just know that has nothing to do with you. Maybe they're busy, but go to the next one and maybe reflect. Maybe you did come off, a certain way, and practice with your advisor, practice with your peers, and say, how is it that I'm coming off, and rehearse these types of things. It's very important that you do that, because when push comes to shove, we can all say, yeah, I'm going to go greet the CEO of this company or this famous researcher in my field, but we kind of get the jitters sometimes, so practice with your friends to get those jitters out a little bit. So, and they will most likely, if you do email them, if you give them your information, they might Google interview you, kind of like you've been sitting there Googling people in the bathroom or beforehand. They will probably interview you. So your best bet is to go online after this and Google yourself and see what it is that pops up in the images, in the videos, maybe YouTube videos that you've liked even, and just regular on the web, and see what pops up, and make sure you take care of anything that needs to be changed. Same thing with your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any other social media avenue. Those things need to be put on private for the most part, unless there's things that you're proud of, research that you have done or organizations that you're a part of, community service, those pictures can definitely stay on unprivate. They're going to really make you stand out. But keeping that professional is very, very important. Okay. So we have reception, lunch, and dinner interviews. These are super important because when you go to a conference, there tends to be the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner, and these can be all in a big, huge room where all of the conference participants, all of the researchers, all the panelists, all the donors, sponsors, everybody sits together. And, you know, they might have their designated area to sit, but you're essentially with everybody in the room. And don't forget to connect with your peers. I know we talk a lot about connecting to people who can give you opportunities, but it's also very important to connect to peers across the country because maybe they're doing something with their organization or with their research that could be beneficial to you also. And I mean, the really cool thing about conferences is you can build friendships. And so the next time you go to, I don't know, LA or Texas or Kansas, maybe you'll have a friend there that you can go visit because of the connections you made during conference and because social media does keep us more well connected these days. So interact with your peers also. Same thing, be prepared to answer questions. You know, what brings you here? What is your research about? What are you studying? What's your major? And talking about your interests because there again, people could be sitting at your table who could help you out and that you can help out too. Avoid the the like and the so and the and the also tos and you knows. So those little extra words that kind of get in the way of what we're trying to express and what we're trying to get across to people. Kind of watch yourself on that, and you may even ask your friend randomly one day, just count how many I say or count how many likes. You know, instead of, oh, you know, like the other day, you know, say something, say that, you know, sweater, and then write such as. Say something like such as instead of like, but find an alternative to these words like that, like I say. But anyway, make sure you're not being negative, especially when you're sitting at a table. It's very easy to be negative and make some comments or make faces and things, but just keep it respectful. Gossip can easily erupt at any table, just some quiet little, oh, you know, did you hear about this? Or like, oh, that guy, that creeper over there. No, we don't need to hear about that. If you need to say anything, make sure it's in your hotel room and express those things. And, you know, being sarcastic, some of us are naturally sarcastic, but we got to watch that at these conferences. Just put out your best effort when you're at these conferences. And remember that people like to talk about themselves. So when you have these conversations with all of these people that you're going to meet at the conference, time your conversation, sort of kind of get a good feel. If you're at a career fair, maybe you don't have the most time to talk to somebody, so that's where you need to talk to that representative quickly, and you've got to really put out your best. Got to put your best foot forward, and making sure that you are telling them about your qualities and your attributes. But if you're sitting at a table with somebody and the luncheon is going to be an hour and a half long, it's best to start the conversation asking about that person sitting next to you. Find out about them. Find out about their research. Find out about what it is that they're interested in. Because a lot of times when you ask these open-ended questions like, oh, so what is it that you do? That's great. Oh, I'd love to do that one day. Tell me more about that. A lot of times it gets to the point where they have talked so much about themselves that they realize, oh my goodness, well, tell me about yourself. So everybody loves that feeling of this person is really interested in me, but it usually gets to the point where it's like, well, what about you? And that's where you can come in and, you know, without any shame, just start talking about what it is, the awesome things that you do. So definitely asking open-ended questions when things get awkward. Don't, you know, not as many yes-no questions like, are you having fun? Are you having a good time? Was your drive long? More like, how was your drive over here? How was your flight? Oh, tell me more about the city that you're from. So ask open-ended questions that can start dialogue and that will get people eventually to ask about you, and that's where you can insert your best information about yourself and maybe build a really good connection there. And, you know, it's just a good impression when you listen to someone. They'll usually think you're a pretty good guy or pretty good gal. So, okay, so final tips. Like I said, always take the initiative to shake all the hands around you. You know, a lot of times We want to walk right past a person that we just met because it might be awkward. Oh, what if they don't remember me? Oh, you know, they might think I'm strange if I say hi. We only talked once. Well, probably not. A lot of people just want to feel welcomed, no matter who they are. So if you see somebody that you met earlier, take that initiative to say hello to them. And if they don't remember you, just say, "Oh, you remember this?" Just have that courage to just go out there, put yourself out there. This is a conference. It doesn't happen all the time. And get as many connections as you can. Shake all hands, like I said. Make eye contact with all the people around you. Engage the whole table. If you're sitting at a table at the conference and you're eating your lunch, it's nice to talk to the person next to you, but it's even better to engage the entire table and ask everyone, so where's everyone from? Oh, that's great. I've been there. Find a way to connect to people. Somehow always being honest, of course, and you really truly have been there, or you really truly do have this hobby in common. And then you'll be able to have a good conversation all around and make the most connections possible and make everyone feel welcome. And that makes you look even better. Always thank people's assistants. One very important tip that I give to students when they're interviewing for a job or for a position is that your administrative assistant is one of your favorite people usually when you work with an administrative assistant or somebody that can help you, or that's helping you do your job. Yeah, oh yeah. So making sure to thank everybody and to be kind and polite to everybody, because guess what? In my case, our administrative assistant is Miss Sharon. So if anybody messes with Miss Sharon, everybody on the floor is probably going to say, well, who was that? Well, we'll make sure that, we take care of Miss Sharon. So knowing that those people are just as important, and that they are probably going to tell their boss, who could give you a job or who could give you an internship, how you made them feel or what impression they got of you. And usually we trust our assistants. We trust the people that work with us. So everybody needs to be engaged. Everybody's got to be respected and acknowledged, and you're going to make a really great lasting impression. Keep your social media clean. Just do it. Communicate while at conference. Communicating with everybody around you. Communicating with your advisors. Getting advice and tips where you're able to. And don't forget to send a thank you card. A thank you card is super important, and rarely do people do that anymore. So send a good, fresh, crisp thank you card. Communicate with people while you're at conference. You're probably going to see them again the next day. They'll probably read your email. And here it says, and some information on who you are. Oh yeah, on that thank you card, write a sentence about who you are, because they might get that thank you card and say, oh my goodness, I do not remember this person. They're very busy people, so they might just say, God, that's great, but I don't recall. So, stick a business card in there, or have them check you out on LinkedIn. Here's my LinkedIn site. But also give that sentence about, do you remember this is, who I am, and I presented on this, and always thanking them. So those are my final tips. And I definitely hope that you got some information from this. Like I said, it's a little bit different to present to an actual crowd than it is to my computer. So I hope that I was able to feed off of your energy from afar and give you some good information that you can take with you to your conference that you all are about to attend, and anything in the future. So right now, I think we are going to open it up for Q&A. What questions do you have for me? Or any experiences that you'd like to share, or any advice that you would like to share as well with the people in the room? Imani, yes, definitely. I know that John mentioned that he was able to send out a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, so we'd be happy to do that. Thanks, Imani. Oh, thank you, guest two. I wish I knew your name. Mina. Thank you, Mina. I appreciate that. I'll actually be at the LSMCE conference in Indianapolis. Yes, so I'll be there and I'd be happy to meet with anybody. And even if you want to practice while you're there, I'm happy to do that too. Thank you. Oh my goodness, the fear of networking. I was not always this outgoing. It's not an easy thing to do. So overcoming that fear is just doing it little by little. And I know this sounds like, well, we're never going to do this. I mean, how does she expect us to do this? But the truth is, you've got to practice with your friends. You've got to practice with advisors. Put yourself in awkward situations. The best way is practice, kind of like with public speaking. If you are a natural at public speaking, I'm so happy for you, but I was not. It's one of those things that you kind of got to throw yourself into and then always evaluate yourself. Once you throw yourself into that situation, and maybe it didn't go great. Maybe your voice was shaking. Maybe you didn't make eye contact or something happened that just you're like, oh my God, that did not go well. Well, you know what? It didn't go well. And I think that's part of having fear of doing things is that you're afraid of how it's going to come off or what will they think. Well, that person is a human being just like you. So what they think is important, but it should not dictate how your next interaction is. So I mean, I know it's kind of general advice, but you got to keep doing it over and over again and don't be afraid to mess up because you might, and we all do. Thank you, Perla. Aw, thanks, Kay. Oh, really good because I was like, I wonder how these people are reacting right now. Energy is a great thing to feed off of, but you all are being so kind.
Before you guys leave the room today, if you can remember to take the evaluation, down in the lower left-hand corner, you see a link that says eval for today's event. It'll take you to a URL. Um, and we've got some people on staff here that want to see what you guys are getting out of these things. So if you can take a minute as you leave the room, I think it's going to open another window where you can take it.
Thank you to everyone. Have a great day and hope to see you at conference.